The massive crystal chamber sparkled with lights from 1,000 different worlds. Inside the Galactic Council Station, beings from across the galaxy gathered in their most desperate hour. The air buzzed with different languages as translators worked to help everyone understand each other. Ambassador Kyung-ho sat quietly in his small chair, watching the chaos around him. His black hair was neat, and his simple blue uniform looked plain next to the colorful robes and strange armor of other species. The human section was tiny compared to the great platforms where older civilizations sat. High Counselor Vexithara stood at the center of the room. Her green scales caught the light as she moved her long neck from side to side. Her yellow eyes showed fear that she tried to hide. Behind her, holographic images showed burning planets and destroyed ships. The Morkith Empire has attacked 17 more colonies this week, Vexithara said. Her voice was deep and sad. The Kalani homeworld is gone. 3 billion people lived there yesterday. Today there is nothing but empty space. A buzz of worried voices filled the chamber. Many beings had never seen such destruction before. Some species had lived in peace for thousands of years. War was something they read about, in old books, not something that happened to them. Admiral Flixtar clicked his mandibles together. The giant insect being stood on 6 legs, his black armor shining under the lights. His compound eyes reflected the images of destroyed worlds. Our fleets cannot stop them, Flixtar said. His voice sounded like metal scraping metal. The Morkith. Ships heal themselves faster than we can damage them. Their weapons turn our energy shields into food for their living vessels. We have lost 40% of our combined fleet strength. Vexithara nodded sadly. Every species here has sent their best ships and warriors. The Zephyrians sent their crystal dreadnoughts. The Kalani used their quantum destroyers. The Vorthan Empire deployed their entire star fleet. All have failed. She looked around the chamber at the frightened faces. The Morkith do not just kill us. They use our people for experiments. They turn our ships into more weapons for their fleet. Each defeat makes them stronger. An old being with blue skin and 4 arms stood up. What about the new species? The humans? They claim to have a military. Several aliens laughed. Their laughter sounded like wind chimes and grinding stones. A few beings pointed at Kyung-ho with their various appendages. The humans? Another voice said. They still use metal ships and chemical explosives. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. Kyung-ho remained calm. He had heard these comments before. Earth was new to the galactic community. Most aliens saw humans as primitive creatures who had barely learned to travel between stars. Vexithara looked at the human. Ambassador, what can your people offer, Ambassador Kyung-ho? Your fleet is small and your weapons are simple. Kyung-ho stood up slowly. He was much smaller than most beings in the room, but his voice was clear and steady. Earth is preparing a response to the Morkith threat, he said. Our military leaders are studying the situation. Admiral Flixtar's antennae twitched. Studying, while entire worlds burn. What can your primitive weapons do against bioarmor that rebuilds itself? Our weapons are different from yours, Kyung-ho replied. We solve problems in our own way. More laughter filled the chamber. A tall being with tentacles for arms waved them in the air. Different? You mean outdated? We abandoned kinetic weapons 10,000 years ago? Why would we go backward? Kyung-ho sat back down without arguing. He knew there was no point in explaining. These beings had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten what real war looked like. They fought with energy beams and plasma bolts because those weapons were clean and precise. They had rules for warfare that made sense when everyone followed them. The Morkith did not follow any rules. Vexithara brought up new images. They showed Morkith ships that looked like giant insects made of bone and metal. Their hulls moved like living skin. Weapons that looked like claws and teeth covered their surfaces. Intelligence reports show the Morketh are gathering their largest fleet yet, she said. Over 200 warships are moving toward the Rylos system. If they take that world, they will control the entire Outer Rim. The chamber fell silent. Rylos was an important agricultural world that fed dozens of systems. Its loss would mean starvation for billions of people. How long do we have? Someone asked. 3 days, Vexithara answered. Maybe less. Admiral Flixtar spread his wings in frustration. Our remaining fleets are scattered across the galaxy. We cannot gather enough ships in time to stop them. What about evacuation? Another voice suggested. Impossible, Vexithara said. Rylos has 8 billion inhabitants. Even if we had enough transport ships, the Morketh would intercept them. The discussion went on for hours. Every suggestion led to the same conclusion. They were going to lose another world. The Morketh were too strong and too fast. Their living technology gave them advantages that traditional weapons could not match. As the meeting continued, Kyung-ho received a message on his personal communicator. He read it quietly, his expression not changing. The message was short and simple. TDF Indomitable Departing Sol System. ETA Rylos, 72 hours. Orders, stop Morketh advance at all costs. He looked around the chamber at all the worried faces and desperate voices. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had built incredible civilizations and achieved amazing things. But they had also become soft. They had forgotten that sometimes the only way to stop a bully was to hit back harder. Kyung-ho stood up again. The chamber gradually became quiet as beings noticed the human was preparing to speak. I have just received word from Earth, he announced. One of our ships is being sent to Rylos. The chamber erupted in noise. Some beings laughed, others looked confused, and a few seemed angry. One ship? Admiral Flixtar's voice rose above the others. You are sending one primitive vessel against 200 Morketh warships? This is madness. Kyung-ho nodded calmly. Yes, one ship. What can one human ship do that our combined fleets could not? Vexithara asked. Kyung-ho picked up his files and prepared to leave. We will find out in 3 days. As he walked toward the exit, the chamber buzzed with conversation. Most beings thought the humans had gone crazy. Some felt sorry for the brave crew that was about to die. A few wondered if there was something they did not understand about human military technology. Kyung-ho paused at the door and looked back at the assembly. The ship's name is Indomitable, he said. Remember that name. Then he left, leaving behind a chamber full of confused and worried aliens who had no idea that everything was about to change. War Chieftain Gruelmoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Render. The massive ship stretched for 3 kilometers, its hull made of living bone and metal that pulsed like a heartbeat. Red veins of bioenergy ran along its surface, feeding the weapon systems that had destroyed countless enemy fleets. Around him, 200 Morketh warships moved through space like a pack of hunting beasts. Each vessel was unique, grown rather than built, shaped by the needs of war and the imagination of their bioengineers. Some looked like giant spiders with weapon arms reaching out in all directions. Others resembled sea creatures from nightmare, worlds, all teeth and claws and hungry mouths. Gruelmoth himself was 7 feet tall with gray skin that looked like stone. Bone spikes grew from his shoulders and arms, and his eyes glowed with a red light that came from the bio-implants in his skull. Scars covered his body, each one a trophy from battles he had won. "Status report," he growled. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Sub-Commander Thraknus approached. Like all Morketh warriors, he had been enhanced with living technology. Metal cables grew from his spine, connecting his nervous system directly to the ship's biocomputer. His left arm had been replaced with a weapon that could fire acid or launch bone spikes. "The fleet is in perfect formation, War Chieftain," Thraknus reported. "Rylos lies ahead. Our scouts report no significant defenses. The planet's orbital stations are poorly armed civilian platforms. Gruelmoth smiled, showing teeth that had been replaced with sharp metal points. Good. The harvest will be easy. How many life forms on the planet? 8 billion sentients, War Chieftain. Mostly agricultural workers and their families, perfect material for our biotanks. In the center of the bridge, a holographic display showed the green and blue world of Rylos. It looked peaceful and beautiful, covered with farms and small cities. Soon, it would be covered with Morkith biofactories that would turn every living thing into weapons for the Empire. Bioengineer Skarnix approached from his laboratory section of the ship. He was smaller than the warriors, with pale skin and eyes that never stopped moving. His hands had been replaced with fine manipulator tools that could work on the smallest biological components. Tubes and wires connected his head to a portable biocomputer that helped him think faster. "War Chieftain, I have completed the new weapon system," Skarnix said. His voice was high and excited. "The bio-torpedoes are ready for testing." Gruelmoth turned to look at the engineer. "Explain." Skarnix's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "Traditional bio-torpedoes simply drain life energy from enemy ships. These new ones are different. They convert the target vessel's matter into living tissue under our control. The enemy ship becomes part of our fleet instantly." He activated a small hologram that showed the process. A normal metal ship was struck by the bio-torpedo. Within seconds, the metal hull began to change. It grew veins and arteries. Weapon ports became mouths full of teeth. The ship's engines turned into beating hearts that pumped bioenergy instead of plasma. "The conversion takes less than 5 minutes," Skarnix continued. "The original crew becomes part of the ship's nervous system. Their knowledge and memories help the vessel fight more effectively." Gruelmoth laughed, a sound like metal breaking. "Excellent. We will test these weapons on whatever ships come to defend this world." Sub-Commander Thraknus checked his biocomputer connection. "War Chieftain, we are receiving long-range sensor data. A single ship is approaching our position." "One ship?" Gruelmoth was surprised. "The galactic fleets must be more damaged than we thought. What type of vessel?" Thraknus paused as data flowed directly into his brain. "Unknown design, War Chieftain. The configuration does not match any ship in our databases. It appears to be primitive." "Show me." The main display changed to show a distant image of the approaching ship. It was long and angular, made of gray metal with no curves or organic shapes. Weapon ports covered its hull like small black dots. It moved in a straight line with no fancy maneuvers or energy displays. "Scan it," Gruelmoth ordered. "Scanning now, War Chieftain." Thraknus connected deeper with the ship's sensors. The vessel is approximately 1 kilometer in length. Hull composition appears to be simple metal alloys. Energy readings are strange. Strange how? The power source does not match any known technology. It is not plasma-based or bioenergy. The weapon signatures are also unusual. They appear to be kinetic-based systems. Several Morkith warriors on the bridge began laughing. Kinetic weapons were ancient technology that fired solid projectiles instead of energy beams. No civilized species had used such crude tools for thousands of years. Kinetic weapons? Gruelmoth found this amusing. What primitive species still uses such old technology? Skarnix checked his own databases. According to our intelligence files, the ship appears to be from a species called humans. They are a young race that recently joined the Galactic community. Their technology level is several thousand years behind current standards. Humans, Gruelmoth repeated the word. I have heard of them. They are weak creatures that live on a small world called Earth. Their ships are made of simple metals and they use chemical explosives for weapons. More laughter echoed through the bridge. The idea that such a primitive species would challenge the mighty Morkith Empire seemed like a joke. War Chieftain, Thraknus said. Should we even bother with this vessel? Our smallest scout ship could destroy it easily. Gruelmoth thought for a moment. No. This will be perfect for testing Skarnixes. New biotorpedoes. We will convert their primitive ship into one of our vessels. It will serve as a warning to other species about what happens when they oppose us. He turned to the bioengineer. How many of the new torpedoes do we have ready? 500, War Chieftain. More than enough to convert a single ship. Excellent. When the human vessel enters weapons range, fire all 500 torpedoes at once. I want to see how quickly the conversion process works on their crude technology. The bridge crew prepared for what they expected to be a very short battle. Weapon systems came online with wet, organic sounds. Bio-torpedoes loaded themselves into launch tubes that looked like throats ready to swallow prey. The living hull of the bone render shivered with anticipation. War Chieftain, a communications officer reported, the human ship is broadcasting a message on standard galactic frequencies. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in the strange language of humans. The translation system, quickly, converted it to Morketh speech patterns. This is Captain Hyun-woo of the Terran Defense Force ship Indomitable. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. This is your only warning. The entire bridge erupted in laughter. The idea that a single primitive ship was giving orders to the entire Morketh battle fleet was beyond funny. Even the ship's biocomputers seemed to find it amusing, their processing sounds becoming higher and more excited. Gruul Moth activated the communication system. Human Captain, this is War Chieftain Gruul Moth of the Morketh Empire. You are about to witness the power of true evolution. Your primitive vessel will be converted into a weapon for our fleet. Your crew will become part of our bio-network. You should feel honored to serve the Empire in this way. There was a long pause before the human captain responded. I see. Thank you for making this decision easy. The communication ended. Gruulmoth found the human's response puzzling. Easy? What did that mean? Time to weapons range? He asked. 2 hours, War Chieftain, Thraknus replied. Good. Signal the fleet to maintain formation, but stay back. I want them to have a clear view of the conversion process. This will be educational for everyone. As the Morketh fleet moved closer to Rylos, the single human ship continued its approach. It made no attempt to call for help or change course. It simply flew straight toward 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Gruulmoth watched the approaching vessel with growing anticipation. Soon he would have a converted human ship in his fleet. The bioengineers could study human technology and find ways to improve their own weapons. The human crew would provide new genetic material for future enhancements. War Chieftain, Skarnix said, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from the human ship. Their power systems are becoming more active. Preparing for battle, no doubt, Gruulmoth replied. It does not matter. No kinetic weapon can penetrate our bioarmor, and no metal ship can resist our conversion torpedoes. He looked around his bridge at his enhanced warriors and their living technology. The Morketh had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of biological warfare. They had conquered dozens of species and absorbed their knowledge and abilities. Their ships could heal from almost any damage, and their weapons could turn enemies into allies. One primitive human ship would not change anything. Prepare to fire. Bio-torpedoes on my command, Gruulmoth ordered. Today, we add human technology to our empire. Captain Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the TDF Indomitable, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the tactical display. The bridge was built for function, not beauty. Gray metal walls held screens and control panels. No decorations or comfortable seating could be found anywhere. Everything was designed for war. The captain was a man in his 40s with short black hair and calm, dark eyes. His blue uniform was simple and practical, with no fancy decorations except for the small rank insignia on his collar. He had fought in 3 border wars before humanity joined the galactic community, and his experience showed in the way he carried himself. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. No one spoke unless necessary. Everyone knew their job, and did it without being told. This was not their first battle, and they prepared for it like any other day at work. "Contact in 90 minutes, Captain," reported Lieutenant Taemin from the navigation station. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, barely 25 years old, but his hands moved across the controls with expert skill. "The Morketh fleet is maintaining formation around Rylos. I count 203 enemy vessels." "Acknowledged," Hyunwoo replied. He turned to his weapons officer. "Commander Soo-jin, status report." Commander Soo-jin was a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and steady hands. She had trained on Earth's weapon ranges since she was a child, and could hit targets that other people could not even see. Her fingers danced across weapon control panels as she checked each system. "All weapon systems green, Captain," she reported. "Railguns loaded with tungsten slugs, fusion torpedoes armed and ready, point defense systems online. We are carrying full ammunition loads for extended engagement." From the engineering station, Chief Engineer Boram looked up from her displays. She was a small woman with grease-stained hands and tired eyes. She had been working for 18 hours straight to make sure every system on the ship was perfect. "Engineering reports all systems nominal, Captain," she said. "The experimental antimatter warheads are stable and ready for deployment. Reactor output at maximum safe levels. We can maintain full power for 6 hours of continuous combat." Hyunwoo nodded. The Indomitable was the newest ship in the Terran Defense Force fleet. Every system had been designed based on lessons learned from humanity's bloody history. While other species had evolved beyond physical warfare, humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of destruction. The ship itself was a weapon. 1 kilometer of armored hull protected the crew and vital systems. The armor was not. Energy shields that could fail or be overloaded. It was solid metal, layers of steel and ceramic that could stop almost anything. The ship could take damage that would destroy other vessels and keep fighting. "Captain," Taemin called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet." "Put it through!" The voice that filled the bridge was deep and rough, clearly not human. The translation system converted the alien words into Korean. "Human Captain, this is War Chieftain Grulmoth of the Morketh Empire. You are about to witness the power of true evolution. Your primitive vessel will be converted into a weapon for our fleet. Your crew will become part of our bio-network. You should feel honored to serve the Empire in this way." Hyunwoo listened without expression. He had read the intelligence reports about Morketh biotechnology. Their weapons could turn other ships into living creatures under their control. Their hulls could heal from damage like wounded animals. They thought this made them superior to everyone else. They were about to learn otherwise. "Response, Captain?" Taemin asked. Hyunwoo activated the communications system. His voice was calm and professional when he spoke. "I see. Thank you for making this decision easy." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All hands, this is the captain speaking. We are about to engage a superior number of enemy vessels. The Morketh believe their biotechnology makes them invincible. They have defeated every galactic fleet sent against them. Today we will show them that there are older ways to win wars." He paused and looked around the bridge. "These aliens have lived in peace for thousands of years. They fight with rules and honor. They use clean weapons that disable rather than destroy. We do not have such luxuries. We learned to fight on a world where survival meant killing your enemies before they killed you." Soo-jin checked her weapons one more time. The railguns were ready to fire solid tungsten slugs at 15% of light speed. The fusion torpedoes carried warheads that could crack planets. The point defense systems could track and destroy thousands of incoming missiles at once. "Contact in 30 minutes, Taemin reported. "Enemy fleet is launching some kind of projectiles. I count 500 objects incoming." "Bio-torpedoes," Dr. Jae Hwan said from his science station. The ship's physicist was a thin man with thick glasses who understood the enemy weapons better than anyone. "They convert matter into living tissue. Very dangerous to ships with standard hulls." Hyunwoo smiled slightly. "Good thing we do not have a standard hull." Commander Sujin, prepare point defense systems. I want every incoming torpedo destroyed before it reaches us. Aye, Captain. Point defense systems targeting. The minutes passed slowly as the two forces moved toward each other. On one side, 200 Morketh warships with their living hulls and biological weapons. On the other side, one human vessel built from steel and determination. Contact in 5 minutes, Taemin announced. Bio-torpedoes will reach us in 3 minutes. Hyunwoo watched the tactical display as hundreds of enemy projectiles streaked toward his ship. Each one was designed to convert the Indomitable into a living weapon under Morketh control. The aliens had never faced an enemy who was prepared for such an attack. Captain, Dr. Jae-hwan said, I am reading massive energy buildup from the enemy fleet. They are preparing for what they think will be our conversion. Let them prepare, Hyunwoo replied. Commander Sujin, you may engage when ready. Sujin's fingers moved across her controls with practiced skill. Point defense systems locked on target. Firing. The space around the Indomitable suddenly filled with light. Thousands of small missiles launched from hidden ports all over the ship's hull. Laser batteries swiveled and fired with computer precision. The point defense grid created a wall of destruction that nothing could pass through. The bio-torpedoes died by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Each one exploded in bright flashes as human weapons found their targets. Within 60 seconds, all 500 enemy projectiles had been destroyed. Not a single one reached the human ship. All incoming torpedoes neutralized. Sujin reported calmly. No damage to ship. On the tactical display, the Morketh fleet had stopped moving. Hyunwoo could imagine the confusion on their bridges. Their most powerful weapons had been defeated so easily that it probably seemed impossible. Captain, Taemin said, the enemy fleet is changing formation. They appear to be preparing for close combat. Of course they are, Hyunwoo replied. They think we got lucky. Commander Sujin, prepare railguns for firing. Target the largest enemy vessels first. Railguns charging, Captain. Tungsten slugs loaded and ready. The railguns were humanity's answer to energy shields and living armor. Instead of firing beams of light or plasma, they launched solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The tungsten slugs weighed only a few kilograms, but they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. Enemy fleet closing to weapons range, Taemin reported. Contact in 30 seconds. Hyunwoo felt the familiar calm that came before battle. He had been in this situation many times before, facing enemies who thought they were superior. Human history was full of such moments, when small forces defeated larger ones through superior weapons and tactics. Fire when ready, Commander. Sujin's hand moved to the firing control. Railguns ready, targeting solution locked, firing. The Indomitable shuddered slightly as magnetic coils launched tungsten slugs into space. The projectiles were invisible to the naked eye, moving too fast for sensors to track. They crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. The first Morketh ship to be hit was a heavy cruiser with thick bio-armor. The tungsten slug punched through its living hull like it was made of paper. The kinetic energy transfer was so massive that the entire ship exploded in a ball of superheated gas and debris. Direct hit on enemy vessel, Sujin reported. Target destroyed. More slugs found their targets. Morketh ships that had survived energy weapons and plasma cannons were torn apart by simple metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Their bio-armor, designed to heal from energy damage, could not regenerate fast enough to survive the massive physical trauma. Captain, Dr. Jae-hwan said with excitement in his voice, their living hulls cannot adapt to kinetic damage. The biotechnology is designed to heal from burns and energy wounds, not from having huge holes punched through them. Hyunwoo nodded. Continue firing, Commander Sujin. Let us teach them about human warfare. The battle had only just begun, but the outcome was already clear. The aliens had made the same mistake that many of humanity's enemies had made throughout history. They had assumed that newer technology was always better than older methods. They were about to learn that sometimes the oldest ways were still the best ways. The space around Rylos erupted into chaos as the battle reached full intensity. Morketh warships that had never known defeat found themselves dying in ways they could not understand. Their living hulls, designed to heal from energy weapons, were being torn apart by simple metal projectiles that moved faster than their biocomputers could process. War Chieftain Grulmoth watched in growing horror as his fleet fell apart around him. On the main display, ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The tungsten slugs from the human railguns hit with such force that entire vessels simply disappeared in clouds of superheated gas. "Damage report!" he roared at his bridge crew. Sub-Commander Thraknus was connected directly to the fleet's bio network, receiving information from every surviving ship. His face had gone pale as the data flowed into his brain. "War Chieftain, we have lost 47 vessels in the first exchange. The human kinetic weapons they are destroying our bio-armor faster than it can regenerate." Grulmoth could not believe what he was hearing. "Impossible! Our armor has withstood plasma cannons and quantum disruptors. How can primitive metal projectiles cause such damage?" Bioengineer Skarnix ran diagnostic programs through his portable biocomputer. His manipulator hands moved frantically across holographic displays as he tried to understand what was happening. "War Chieftain, the kinetic energy transfer is too massive for our healing systems," he reported. "Our bio-armor evolved to repair burn damage and energy wounds. When a tungsten slug hits us at 15% light speed, it creates a hole so large that the surrounding tissue dies instantly. The ship cannot regenerate fast enough to survive." On the human ship, Commander Su-Jin continued her methodical destruction of the enemy fleet. Her targeting systems locked onto Morketh vessels with computer precision, and her railguns fired in steady salvos that never missed their targets. 63 enemy vessels destroyed," she reported to Captain Hyun-woo. "Ammunition reserves at 80%. All systems functioning normally." Captain Hyun-woo watched the tactical display with calm satisfaction. The battle was proceeding exactly as human war planners had predicted. The Morketh had made their biotechnology so specialized for defending against energy weapons that they had forgotten about the devastating power of kinetic attacks. "Captain," Lieutenant Taemin called out, "the enemy fleet is changing tactics. They are attempting to close range for boarding actions." Dr. Jae-hwan looked up from his science station. "That makes sense from their perspective. If they can get close enough to board us, their bioweapons will be more effective than their ship-based systems." "Let them come," Hyun-woo replied. "Sergeant Da-Yun, are your Marines ready?" From the Marine section of the ship, Sergeant Da-Yun's voice came through the communications system. She was a tough woman who had fought in ground battles across 3 star systems. Her Marines were equipped with weapons designed specifically for fighting biological threats. "Marines ready, Captain. We have flamethrowers, acid dispensers, and high explosive charges. If any of those aliens make it aboard, they will regret it." The Morketh fleet began to move in a different pattern. Instead of maintaining their previous formation, the surviving ships spread out and approached the Indomitable from multiple directions. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the human point defense systems and get close enough to attach boarding pods to the enemy hull. War Chieftain Grulmoth stood at the center of his bridge, his red eyes glowing with anger and desperation. "All ships, maximum speed, close to boarding range. Our warriors will tear that primitive ship apart from the inside." The remaining Morketh vessels, now numbering about 150, accelerated toward the lone human ship. Their living hulls rippled with excitement as bioweapons prepared for close combat. Boarding pods that looked like giant insects readied themselves to launch. Commander Su-Jin watched the approaching enemy ships with professional interest. "Captain, they are closing fast. Should I switch to anti-ship torpedoes?" Not yet, Hyun-woo replied. Let them get closer. Dr. Jae-hwan, are the experimental weapons ready? Dr. Jae-hwan checked his displays one more time. The physicist had spent months preparing for this moment. Antimatter warheads are stable and ready for deployment, Captain. Each warhead contains enough antimatter to destroy several enemy vessels. The antimatter torpedoes were humanity's newest weapon, developed specifically for fighting large enemy fleets. Unlike fusion warheads that simply exploded, antimatter weapons converted matter directly into energy. The explosions were so powerful that they could be seen from other star systems. How many warheads do we have? Hyun-woo asked. 3, Captain. Each one is equivalent to a small star going supernova. As the Morketh ships closed to within 50,000 kilometers, their formation became tighter. They were trying to overwhelm the human ship with sheer numbers, believing that their combined firepower would eventually break through the enemy's defenses. This was exactly what Hyun-woo had been waiting for. Commander Soo-jin, fire antimatter. Torpedoes, all 3 warheads, maximum spread pattern. Soo-jin's hands moved across her control panel with practiced precision. Antimatter torpedoes away. Time to target. 45 seconds. The 3 torpedoes were much smaller than the previous railgun projectiles, but they carried death on a scale that the Morketh could not imagine. Each warhead contained only a few grams of antimatter, but when those grams met normal matter, the results would be spectacular. War Chieftain Grulmoth watched the approaching human projectiles with contempt. Only 3 missiles? Their primitive technology cannot even build proper warheads. All ships, prepare to intercept. Several Morketh vessels fired their bioenergy weapons at the incoming torpedoes. Their living cannons spat streams of corrosive energy that could melt through most known materials. The energy beams struck the human warheads and seemed to destroy them. For a moment, Grulmoth thought they had succeeded in stopping the attack. Then the first antimatter warhead detonated. The explosion was beyond anything the Morketh had ever seen. A sphere of pure energy expanded outward at nearly the speed of light, converting everything it touched into more energy. 20 Morketh ships simply vanished, their bio-armor and living hulls unable to resist forces that operated at the fundamental level of physics. The second warhead exploded 3 seconds later, taking another 18 ships with it. The third detonation claimed 22 more vessels. In less than 10 seconds, 60 Morketh warships had been completely destroyed, leaving only glowing clouds of plasma where proud bioships had once been. The remaining Morketh fleet was thrown into complete chaos. Ships that had survived thousands of battles found themselves facing weapons that made no sense to them. Their biotechnology, evolved over millions of years, had no defense against the raw power of antimatter annihilation. Impossible, Grulmoth whispered. His red eyes reflected the dying light of his destroyed fleet. No species possesses such weapons. Where did these humans learn to build such things? On the Indomitable, Captain Hyun-woo watched the results of the antimatter strike with grim satisfaction. Damage assessment, Commander Soo-jin. Soo-jin checked her sensors. 60 Morketh vessels destroyed. Approximately 90 ships remaining, but their formation is broken. They appear to be in full retreat. Negative, Hyun-woo said firmly. No retreat. Lieutenant Tae-min, activate FTL interdiction fields. I want every enemy ship trapped in this system. Tae-min's fingers danced across his navigation controls. Around the Indomitable, space itself began to change as the ship's FTL interdiction system came online. The technology created gravitational fields that prevented other ships from entering hyperspace or warp drive. Interdiction fields active, Captain. No ship can leave this system until we deactivate them. The surviving Morketh vessels found themselves trapped like animals in a cage. Their biocomputers calculated escape routes, but every attempt to activate their FTL drives failed. The human ship had somehow locked down the entire star system. War Chieftain Grulmoth realized that his mighty fleet was doomed. The humans had demonstrated weapons and technology that surpassed anything in Morketh databases. Worse, they fought with a ruthless efficiency that showed no mercy and followed no rules. "Open a channel to the human ship," he ordered. The voice of Captain Hyun-woo filled the bridge of the bone render. It was calm and cold, showing no emotion despite the destruction he had just caused. "This is Captain Hyun-woo of the Terran Defense Force ship Indomitable. You have two options: surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded, or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to decide." Gruelmoth looked around his bridge at his surviving crew. Many of them were wounded, their bio-enhancements sparking and failing. The ship itself was damaged, its living hull trying desperately to heal wounds that were too severe to repair quickly. For the first time in his military career, the proud war chieftain of the Morketh Empire spoke words he had never thought he would say. "Human Captain, this is War Chieftain Gruelmoth. The Morketh fleet surrenders unconditionally." The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. In communication centers on 1,000 worlds, the same impossible message was being received and confirmed. The mighty Morketh Empire, unstoppable conquerors who had destroyed entire civilizations, had been defeated by a single human warship. On the Galactic Council Station, High Counselor Vexithara stood in her private chamber, staring at the official report on her holographic display. Her green scales had lost their color, and her yellow eyes showed disbelief that bordered on shock. The report was simple and direct. Morketh fleet at Rylos destroyed. 97 enemy vessels captured or destroyed. No human casualties. TDF. Indomitable returning to patrol duties. Admiral Flixtar entered the chamber without being announced, his 6 legs clicking rapidly on the crystal floor. The giant insect's compound eyes reflected the light in patterns that showed extreme agitation. "Counselor, have you seen the reports from Rylos?" he asked, his metallic voice higher than usual. Vexthera nodded slowly. "I have seen them. I do not understand them, but I have seen them." 200 Morketh warships, Flixtar continued. Their entire main battle fleet, gone, destroyed by one human vessel using kinetic weapons and antimatter explosives. The 2 aliens stood in silence for several minutes, trying to process information that changed everything they thought they knew about warfare. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly found themselves wondering if they understood anything at all. "What do we know about human military technology?" Vexithera asked. Flixtar accessed his personal database through his bio-neural implants. "Very little, Counselor. Our intelligence services dismissed them as a primitive species. We know they use metal ships instead of biotechnology or energy constructs. We know they prefer kinetic weapons over plasma or quantum systems. We thought these were signs of backwardness. Apparently, we were wrong." A communication alert filled the chamber. Vexthera activated the system to find Ambassador Kyung-ho requesting an urgent meeting with the full Galactic Council. "Send him in," she said. Ambassador Kyung-ho entered the chamber looking exactly the same as he had 3 days ago. His simple blue uniform was neat and clean. His expression was calm and professional. He showed no signs of celebration or victory, just the same quiet confidence he had always displayed. "Counselor Vexithara, Admiral Flixistar," he said with a slight bow. "I believe you have questions about recent events." "Questions?" Flixtar's antennae twitched with agitation. "Ambassador, your single ship just accomplished what our combined fleets could not. We lost hundreds of vessels fighting the Morketh. You destroyed their entire fleet without taking any damage. How is this possible?" Kyung-ho sat down in the small chair reserved for human representatives. "The answer is simple, Admiral. We approach warfare differently than you do." "Explain," Vexithera said. "Your species have lived in peace for thousands of years," Kyung-ho began. "When you finally had to fight the Morketh, you used the same weapons and tactics that you used for ceremonial battles and police actions. Clean weapons that disable rather than destroy. rules of engagement that protect civilians and limit collateral damage, honor codes that prevent excessive violence. He paused and looked at both aliens. Humans learned warfare on a planet where survival meant killing your enemies before they killed you. We spent thousands of years perfecting the art of destruction. When we finally achieved peace, we did not forget the lessons of war. We simply built better weapons. Admiral Flixtar leaned forward on his 6 legs. But kinetic weapons are ancient technology. We abandoned such crude methods millennia ago. You abandoned them because you no longer needed them, Kyung-ho replied. We improved them because we might always need them. A railgun that fires tungsten slugs at 15% light speed is not ancient technology, Admiral. It is a modern weapon built on ancient principles. Vexithara activated her holographic display to show images from the battle at Rylos. The footage showed Morketh ships being torn apart by invisible projectiles that moved too fast to track. Your weapons were specifically designed to counter bio-armor, she observed. Our weapons were designed to destroy anything they hit, Kyung-ho corrected. The fact that they worked well against Morketh biotechnology was expected, but not surprising. Armor that heals from energy damage cannot regenerate fast enough to survive massive kinetic trauma. A new voice entered the conversation as President Moon Seo appeared on the holographic communicator. She was a woman in her 50s with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too many wars. Her simple black suit showed no decorations except for the small Earth symbol on her collar. Counselor, Admiral, she said with a respectful nod. I am President Moon Seo of the United Earth Government. I understand you have questions about our military capabilities. Vexithara bowed her long neck in respect. President Moon Seo, we are honored by your presence. Yes, we have many questions. The galaxy has changed overnight, and we need to understand our new situation. The situation is simple, Moon Seo replied. Humanity is prepared to take its place. As a full member of the galactic community, we offer our protection to peaceful species and our friendship to those who seek peace. We also offer a warning to those who would threaten innocent lives. Admiral Flixtar clicked his mandibles nervously. What kind of warning, President? The Morketh Empire believed that might made right. They thought their biotechnology made them superior to everyone else. They learned otherwise. Any other species that chooses the path of conquest will learn the same lesson. From his position near the holographic display, Ambassador Kyung-ho added more details. 3 more ships of the Indomitable class are being deployed to different sectors of the galaxy. Their mission is to maintain peace and protect civilian populations. We hope their presence will discourage future aggression. The implications of this statement were staggering. If one human warship could destroy the entire Morketh fleet, what could 4 ships do? What about 10? How large was the human military, and how many ships did they have in reserve? President Moon Seo, Vexithara said carefully, the Galactic Council would like to offer humanity a permanent seat on our governing body. Your military capabilities clearly qualify you for full membership status. Moon Seo smiled slightly. We accept your offer, Counselor. Earth looks forward to working with all peaceful species for the benefit of the galaxy. Over the following weeks, the effects of humanity's victory continued to spread. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly found themselves studying human history and culture. What they discovered both fascinated and terrified them. Humans had fought over 12,000 major wars on their home planet. They had developed weapons capable of destroying their entire world multiple times over. They had created military strategies and tactics that were studied and refined through centuries of constant conflict. Yet they had also achieved peace. After learning to destroy themselves, they had chosen to work together instead. The same species that had perfected the art of war had also mastered the science of cooperation. Captain Hyunwoo received new orders as his ship patrolled the space lanes between star systems. The presence of the Indomitable had already prevented 3 potential conflicts simply by being visible on long-range sensors. No species wanted to test their weapons against whatever technology had destroyed the Morketh fleet. In research facilities across the galaxy, alien scientists worked desperately to understand human military technology. They studied recordings of the battle at Rylos, trying to figure out how kinetic weapons could be so effective. Most of them reached the same conclusion. Humans had not invented better technology. They had simply never stopped improving older technology. The Morketh Empire itself underwent dramatic changes. War Chieftain Gruulmoth found himself serving as a liaison between his species and the new human military advisors. The surviving Morketh ships were being converted for peaceful purposes, their bioweapons removed, and their living hulls adapted for exploration and research. "I do not understand your species," Gruulmoth said during one of his meetings with Captain Hyunwoo. "You defeated us completely, yet you offer us redemption instead of slavery." Hyunwoo looked at the former war chieftain with calm eyes. "My people learned long ago that making enemies creates more problems than making friends. The Morketh are no longer a threat to peaceful species. There is no reason to punish you further. But we killed billions of innocent beings. Yes, you did. And now you will spend the rest of your lives helping to rebuild what you destroyed. Justice does not always require revenge, Gruulmoth. Sometimes it requires work." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. President Moon SEO appeared on the ship's holographic display with news that would change the galaxy yet again. "Captain Hyunwoo, we have received requests for protection from 47 different species. It appears that word of our capabilities has encouraged several aggressive civilizations to reconsider their expansion plans. We are authorizing the construction of 50 additional warships of your class." Hyunwoo nodded. "Understood, President. The galaxy is learning that there are consequences for threatening innocent people.